What's going on? It's your boy Juice Bundles, and this is the sound of hip hop. Man, it's a long time coming. This is the first official episode of the sound of hip hop, man. I just want to congratulate myself and thank God. You know what I mean? I'm blessed. Excuse me, it's finally happening. I finally got all the equipment happening. So, with that being said, man, for my first official episode, we getting into some about the music, and the topic today is what makes a great or the ultimate MC. You know what I mean? A lot of people, and I feel like we have to get into it because a lot of people are confused about what an MC is. You know what I mean? They start naming rappers like, I like him, but Lil Baby and people like Nelly, and they're saying that these people are better than MCs or are MCs. You know what I mean? When we know a real MC, just for a commercial standpoint, is a Jadakiss. You know what I mean? Killer Priest. You know what I mean? These are real MCs. And today, not only am I going to get into that and certain rules that I have, I'm also going to list what, in my opinion, makes a great MC. So, like I said, I'm a little camera shy. Bear with me. Let me get my notes. Okay, so what makes a great MC? The first element, in my opinion, is lyrical ability. It's the first element and it's the most important element. If you don't have lyrical ability, I don't believe you can be an MC. And it's a lot of factors that go with that. So lyrical ability is somebody who has, an extensive vocab. You know what I mean? Could create dope punchlines. Not just any punchlines, but dope ones. / metaphors or similes or whatever. Able to flip words or phrases and do this stuff consistently. You get what I'm saying? Do this stuff consistently. That right there is a big element of being an MC, and in my opinion, you know what I mean? There's also other factors, like I would say diversity. You know what I mean? Diversity is a big factor. Not saying it's everything, but diversity is a big factor of being an MC. You know what I mean? When you have an album, is it all non-concept songs and sound like all freestyles, or do you have a story? Do you have an anthem? You know what I mean? Do you have a conversation? You know what I mean? Do you have a concept? Concept songs. You know what I mean? So those right there, I'm not saying it's an end-all be-all for diversity, but diversity is something that definitely makes you the ultimate MC, because if you can't talk about everything, if you can't rap on every type of beat, not saying that every beat is for you and not saying that every beat is dope, but if you can't do that, then most likely the people who can't usually, and I'm just saying it in the majority factor, those people usually aren't better than MCs. Another thing that a lot of things that I feel, I wouldn't say they make a great MC. It's like the MCs already have this, and this is the evidence of being a great MC. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, let me say one more element before I get into that. My favorite element of being an MC, we talked about the wordplay, we talked about the vocab, a person with a nice flow, a person with punchlines, a person that, could rap over anything. These are just a few elements that I've named. But the biggest element, in my opinion, is I can't really sum it up in one name or one phrase. So I would say this, and in my opinion, Joe Buttons is the best at this element. And I just want to say it as far as, okay, telling me exactly what you want me to hear in a lyrical way. Now, anybody could tell you what they want to hear, and it'd be very simple, but can you do this? And the reason why I think this is the best element, can you do this using all the elements? Can you tell me what you're trying to tell me using wordplay? Can you tell me what you're trying to tell me with using a nice flow and not being on beat? Can you tell me what you're trying to tell me with a good cadence? Could you tell me what you tell me with a dope delivery? You know what I mean? That to me is the best element of lyrical components. You know what I mean? It's just in my opinion because you have to use all the elements to do so. Another element that I think is very important and I see nowadays is sorely lacking. And like I said, for what I was just saying, go check out if you've never really, messed with Joe Buttons like that. I know a lot of people haven't. Go check out Dumb Out. It's a song he made. That song right there, he tells you exactly what he's trying to tell you in lyrical form. That's the best example I can give for that because I knew I had to give an example because I couldn't just sum it up in one word. So another or other elements that make great MCs is definitely, this is a very important one, originality. You know what I mean? A lot of people are dope. I can definitely go take your style and do what I want to do with it. But the point of being an MC is being who you are and being yourself with the great skills in those lyrical components. So originality to me is so dope. That's why everybody likes Busta Rhymes. You know what I mean? That's why everybody likes I would say a T.I. Nobody really sounds like T.I. You know what I mean? Nobody really sounds like Busta Rhymes. T.I. might rhyme a little similar, but nobody sounds like him. Nobody sounds like Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes is the best example for that. And yeah, you need originality. You need originality to me to become I'm not gonna say to become a great MC, but to stand out as a great MC, I would say. I like people that give you their swag or very smooth on beats. And a person that I think is a new age MC that's doing this is Dave East. Boy, can he swag that out when he's on that beat. You know what I mean? And that's his original form too. So he brung his originality with his swag on the beat, and that's why it sounds so good. So I would also like to get into some elements that show the evidence of being a great MC. And one of them is, a lot of people could I'm talking about people that call themselves MCs. When you got tracks or you're featured on a track and you're on a track with Lil Baby, you're on a track with Young Thug, or you know what I mean, you're on a track with my man, somebody like Chef G or A Boogie with the hoodie. Now we know as an MC, we're talking about MCs right now. I mean, if you were to get on a verse with them and outshine them, okay, cool. But can you get on the verse with Dave East? Can you get on the verse with Jada? Can you get on the verse, you know what I mean, with someone prominent and known as an MC and outshine them or keep up on a consistent basis? You know what I mean? That's the evidence of an MC. And I feel like Benny the Butcher is one of those who has shown that he can do that. You know what I mean? That's my example for that. Another thing that's the evidence, you know what I mean? Do you put fear in people's hearts with your skills? You know what I mean? A few people, put it like this, I've seen examples to where, an example is if you say something that's questionable, you might say something that's questionable or whatever. Is somebody just gonna slide on you and be like, "Oh, you did"? I mean, some people will, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? Because they just an MC and they in competition. But people's careers be on the line. They might will you make somebody make that call first? Like, yo, yeah, man, I heard this new John. Was that about me? Oh, all right. I'm just trying to make sure. You know what I mean? Do you put that fear in people's hearts? That's another evidence of great MCs. Another thing is your battle/beef record. You know what I mean? If you've gotten to any rap beefs or battles, you know what I mean? And when I talk about the rap world, I'm not really talking about face-to-face battles. I mean, if you into that, you'll be judged by that too. But I'm talking about diss tracks, like a Beans versus Jada, a Jay-Z versus Nas. You know what I mean? What are your records in those? You know what I mean? Have you clearly pounced on something? Have you clearly been pounced on? You know what I mean? Did you give a good fight or tie with a great MC? This is something that matters, and this is the evidence of you being a good MC. This is just in my opinion. So that's another one. Another one, I would say, do you know how to flow to the beat? You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a nice flow, but do you know how to get on different beats or whatever beat is given to you that you decide to rap on? You know, a lot of people got good flows and a lot of people got signature flows, and that's cool. But is your signature flow, or could you adjust your flow to a beat? And I'm not talking about rap to the beat differently. I'm talking about, can you rap the right way? With what I've always learned when listening to beats, it's always like a certain flow that, like with a tricky beat, it's always the certain flow that you be like, okay, this is the way you were supposed to rhyme to this beat. Do you know that? Did you do it? Are you able to do it? You know what I mean? So that's another, that's some more evidence of what I would consider like knowing how to do that and being on top of that makes you a great MC. Now, these things right here that I'm about to list, I wouldn't say that they make you a great MC, but they help polish you to be an ultimate MC. And this is the main thing. And it's so sad, man, because a lot of rappers really don't know this about themselves. Like, rappers don't know themselves as rappers or MCs. Like, it's almost like they don't get it. You know what I mean? So I would say getting it or knowing who you are as an MC helps you to be a great MC, or to at least whatever your skill level is, puts it at the top for the polish. For an example, a person that is an MC who knows himself, in my opinion, is Jadakiss. You know what I mean? I don't think he's had the best beats in the world, but when you hear him on the mixtapes, he really knows himself as an MC. And the sad part is, it's not, I would say, the majority of MCs, when you listen to their work, you could tell they don't really know themselves. And that's why they may not sell, or, you know, their album may not do as good, because you pick these beats. Like a good example of somebody that's dope, that, I mean, just from listening to his music and his beats, I could tell really doesn't know himself, is Cannabis. Cannabis is so nasty, and man, a lot of them albums, it's like, you be like, yo, why did you pick that beat? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or why did you do that? Like, you too nasty for that. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, and the reason why I hate it is because I respect the MCs of the game, and most people, they're overlooking these people, and it's because you guys don't know yourselves as artists. My opinion, my favorite rapper of all time, Joe Buttons. In the beginning, he seemed as if he knew himself as an artist, but sometimes even the beats he chose, you know, were a little questionable. But in the beginning, it seems like he knew himself as an artist. But you hear a lot of beats and a lot of the things he's doing, and you like, yo, what are you doing? Like, but I would say, to his defense, from everything I heard, I would say when I first start really hearing Joe Buttons, maybe late 2001, 2002, all the way up to 2011, you know what I mean? He made a lot of good music, and you've seen his growth within his music. But I would say, to his defense, and this is what I will say, that Joe Buttons was shunned so much in the game. It's like, I'm putting all this good music out, and nobody's really taken to it. So now he's switching up, trying to appease fans, trying to appease the labels, and it's not working out for him, because he made stuff like Mood Music 2, Mood Music 3, Mood Music 4. And I want to say Mood Music 4, it started to show that he was changing, but it's like in between that 2002 and 2011 period, he was basically the best rapper in hip hop, underground wise, but he was the best rapper in hip hop to me. And then later on, you hear No Love Lost, and you like, man, this dude just does not get it. Like, you know what I mean? And I never understood that, but I would say that in his defense, that I feel as though, the game discouraged him. You know what I mean? But Rick Ross, I don't consider him an MC. I don't think he has the worst lyrics in the world, but I will say Rick Ross is somebody who gets it. Rick Ross knows himself. He know what beat to choose. He know who to put on this joint, whether it be a feature or whatever, whether it be a mixtape song, whether it be an album. Rick Ross makes good songs. You know what I mean? He has a signature type of song element that you notice is Rick Ross, and you know this joint gonna bump. And he's not the best rapper out there, but he's the example of he puts the best out that he can, and since he knows himself, it's polished and it's very cool. So that's one thing I would have to give, and I think that is the element that really makes the difference. Knowing yourself as an MC is an element that really makes the difference. So and I think that MCs really need to get in tune with that, because in my opinion, Common, he's a dope lyricist, you know what I mean? Or whatever. He kind of dope. But he is just one of those guys that shows me he doesn't get it. And not even with his beat selection. You hear him and he sounds off the beat sometimes, and I hate that. When I hear a verse, I want some lyrical smooth stuff. I want a smooth verse. I don't want to hear kinks in the verses. I don't want to hear you were off beat a little bit. I don't like that. I don't know how old it is, but I just seen some freestyle he did on LA Leakers, and they gave him a dope beat and everything, and it's like, you really don't get it. Like, you were really off beat for that, almost that whole freestyle, man. And it's like you don't know it's like you've been rapping all this time and don't know what's going on. And that is an element to me that makes the difference. So with that being said, I will say that knowing yourself as an MC is very important. Now, with all that being said, you know what I mean, we got into a lot of elements, like I said, lyrical ability, vocab, being able to create onomatopoeias, be able to compete with rappers, being able to, compete either whether you're beefing or whether you're in a song with rappers. Doing this stuff consistently, the diversity of making different type of songs, concepts, stories, and stuff like that, originality, wordplay, and the cadence in what you're doing. Is it the right cadence with that beat? Do you have a signature cadence that, kills everything? So all of that stuff comes into play. And with that being said, so I got into a lot of elements that I believe makes a great MC. Another element that makes a great MC, and we just gonna jump into it right away. Like I told you before, I got some rules in hip hop. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna transition, because this also makes a great MC, and it's also a rule for mine. Now, I want to call it, nobody calls it this, and it's not like a real rule, but it's my rule. I call it rhyming right. And what I mean by rhyming right is, first of all, most great MCs do this, and I'm talking about in the 90 percentile. The only great MCs who I really see don't do this on the basis that I like. So when I talk about rhyming right, I need you to do this. If you spit a 16, I need 80% of that 16 to rhyme right. And the people who probably don't do it 80%, but were still MCs or even in their prime, was, to think of a few, I would say Cannabis, Jay-Z, and Nas. They didn't do this concept 80% of the time. They were, especially Jay-Z and Nas, they were from the old era. A lot of old era rappers don't do it. And that is another, we're going to get into that in a minute. But they were the rappers that, came up in the older era. So they didn't do it all the time, but you still see when they do it, and their best verses are when they do it. So without all the rhyme and write for me is, for one, to rhyme right means to me that you have to at least, when you end your bar, at least rhyme the two, and this is the least you do when you rhyme right, to rhyme the two last syllables together. So if I say something like, if I end the bar with back down, or no, I'm sorry. If I say niggas acting like I got to watch my back now, best believe everywhere you see me, I'm strapped now. Back down, strapped now, like, and it wasn't even like super like rhyme and right, but what I'm saying is those two elements, you rhyme two syllables. I hate one syllable rhymers. I hate that. I can't stand it. The verse doesn't sound as smooth. You know what I mean? And I really hate when people in the bar, like I literally tried to end the bar with niggas acting like I got to watch my back now. If I was to say niggas acting like I got to watch my back now and then tried to rhyme, let's say, court down. Niggas acting like I got to watch my back now. I come through and shoot your whole court down. You see how off that sounds? I don't understand why anybody who knows anything about a pad and a pen would do that. Another thing, if you, and I'm talking about that's the least you can do. But in my opinion, well, that rhyme right there, or those two bars, they actually did in the bar with only two syllables. But let's just say, let's say if I was to end the bar, like with more than two syllables. So I might say, back down when you see a king on the rise. Now, king on the rise ended the syllables. King on the rise. So that's four syllables. I hate when people say, if I was to say king on the rise, and I was to say, and I was to try to rhyme it with king on the rise, but stay on my mind. Like mine and rise don't really rhyme, but I'm giving an example that you didn't even rhyme those words. You rhyme one syllable and it sounds off all the time. And every time I have this discussion with people, they be like, man, that's bubblegum ABC rap. No. How could it be bubblegum ABC rap when you have the job to rhyme 5 syllables? And really what it is you don't even have to do all that. All you really have to do for this format, if I said king on the rise, you have to, like, I'll give the example of rhyme and right. If I say king on the rise and I rhyme with bring your demise. Now, king on the rise, bring your demise. On and your don't rhyme. But in this format, all you have to do is rhyme the front word, put as many syllables in between, and rhyme the back word. That's it. Or not even the back word, just the last back syllable. King on the rise. Bring your demise. You get that? King, bring, rise, mise. And fit the syllables in between. That's it. It's not that hard. And if it is hard, it just shows you're not as talented, or you just don't want to spend as time as much as your lyrics. So that is a rule for me. If you don't rhyme like that in 80% of your rhymes, I'm not probably even going to like you. It's going to be an incomplete. But like I said, there's certain people that are exceptions. Jay-Z, Nas, and Cannabis, which you hear those names. So, and most likely you're not that. So if you don't do this for 80% of your rhymes, I count it as an incomplete. Meaning that, say a teacher told you to write a thesis statement. It wanted you to open up the first paragraph, give your thesis statement, transition into your first point, you know what I mean? And then, you know what I mean, you know the format, transition into your first point, state the first point, give all the evidence, transition to your second point, all so on and so forth, give a conclusion. When you don't do that, if you was to turn a thesis paper in and you didn't do that, say you had the opening statement, but you didn't have the thesis and you didn't have any transitions, more than likely your teacher wouldn't even give you an F. He'd give you an incomplete. You know what I mean? So that's what that is for me. And you know what I mean? You gotta be, and again, like I said, like I talked about before with the elements of hip hop or the elements of lyricism, knowing yourself. And if you don't know that, you need to, study more before you start rapping. So that is an element of lyricism and a rule that I have. You know what I mean? If you're not rhyming like that, and it ain't really, put it like this, it's my rule. Don't get it twisted. It's my rule. But at the same token, 90% of the dope rappers rap like that. The people that really don't, like I said, it's a small percentage. I'm not saying it's just Jay-Z, Cannabis, and Nas. It's a few other people, but it's a very small percentage of people that are actually dope that don't use this element. And the whole point of this element is to make your verses sound good. So with that being said, that's one of my rules. Another rule, a lot of times we have these hip hop debates. Now, this is just for the old time because times has changed a little bit. So like, I remember having a discussion about somebody and I'm talking about Jay-Z. And at the time, because since transition is moving, I just seen him do it recently. He's talking about graph. And this is, I want to say, about in 2005. You know what I mean? He's talking about graph. We can't do that. And not to say that I like graph. I think he's dope. But in that time frame, we can't compare graph with Jay-Z yet because, not trying to say it like this, at that time, graph is in the G League. So the rule that I have, especially when talking about old hip hop, well, it's kind of different now with new rappers because times has changed. But when you talking about old hip hop, right, or you talking about it versus new hip hop, I won't, and I love stack bundles. I would never try to compare stack bundles with Nas. Not trying to say it because the lyrical ability is because he's in the G League and Nas is in the actual league. So the rule for that, I would say would be, and I came up with these rules myself. If you are not, okay, let me break it down like this. You cannot, and don't get mad about these terms because it's just descriptive. Stack bundles wouldn't really be considered a real rapper. And I believe to be a real rapper, you would either have to, I'm talking about back in those days, one, be a solo artist who has come out with an actual album in stores, like to be in the league, or the lowest it can be is that you are a part of a group who has came out with a real album that came out in stores. So example of a real rapper that is a solo artist. And I want to think of somebody who's not really that famous, but Mac Miller would have been considered a real rapper. He really came out with an album. He's not that known, but he came out with a real album. Another rapper, not really known like that or not really big, but Freaky Ty, he was a part of the Lost Boys. Now, you can consider him a real rapper because he was a part of a group that put real albums out in stores. So that is my definition. So if you were back in those days, putting out putting out mixtapes and you never put out an album, you weren't in the league yet. And I talk about that on my top 5 series. So that is another element or rule that I feel when discussing hip hop. We just can't be all willy-nilly with this stuff. So another rule, since we going into that, because in these new times, I see people still put out mixtapes, but it's no use for them. Everybody can put out an album now. You don't even need a label, but if you want to really get the backing and all that, you should, but you don't even really need a label now. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't even really need a label. You can go put your album out on iTunes. You know what I mean? You don't need these big producers. You can go and find all type of producers. You know what I mean? And that's another thing, like I was saying about knowing yourself as an MC. Like, even now in today's era, you don't need big producers. It's people that sell beats for $300 or $100 as fire. Like my man, I want to say my man Chris Beats. You know what I mean? I just saw something the other day. He had beats for $100 for sale. He's more of a, if you want a hit type beat, you will go to him. But he got some fire beats. Shouts out to you. You know what I mean? He got some fire beats. Like my man Average Thought. You know what I mean? He got some fire beats. He ain't selling them for that much. And if you went to like the J Dilla type, Q-tip type vibe of a beat, he got them beats for you. So that's what I want to also add. Knowing yourself as an MC, you don't need all these big beats. It's all type of people with dope beats for cheap that you could choose from. And with that being said is, with this topic, with one of the rules is, everybody puts out albums nowadays. There's no need for mixtapes. I mean, you could put it out, but it's so easy to put out an album on iTunes, or it's so easy to put out an album for NFT that you don't even really need a label backing. But if you want a label backing, that's another way to put out an album. So with that being said, man, I have a rule I've been seeing lately, and I'm going to call out, Joe Budden's is my favorite rapper of all time, but I'm going to call out my favorite rapper right now, my man, Mr. Butcher. I see you had an album with 7 songs on it. That ain't cutting it in this day and age. I mean, it is a little back. It ain't like you kind of did it recently. It is like a few years ago. But stuff like that, we not cutting that no more. You know what I mean? We not doing that. Listen, the way the music is and stuff nowadays, you know what I mean? Without mixtapes, if you going to put out an album, I need at least 10 songs on the album. Illmatic set the precedent for it. I need at least 10 songs. All these albums, 9 songs, 8 songs. Like my man, he just put out an official EP. Well, he labeled as the EP, so whatever. But he didn't have to do an EP, but that's what he chose to do. I think he's trying to get his little stuff to the labels. He ain't really even put it out on iTunes, I don't think. But if you talking about you're putting out an album and you have less than 10 songs, that shit don't count to me, man. Like, and I ain't talking about 10 tracks. I'm talking about 10 songs of rapping. So what that means is I need 10 rapping songs on there. So if I see 10 tracks, I need 10 songs of rapping, or that shit don't count to me. Now, I see people like, I seen somebody, he had 10 songs, but it was 2 skits. No, that don't count. If you want to put out an album and you want to put skits on there, so say you got 2 skits, unless you are making the skits a part of those actual songs, I need at least 12 tracks. 2 skits, 10 songs. If you can't make 10 songs, man, and people only do this stuff once a year, not saying that everybody does it, because Benny actually put out multiple albums. But if you don't put out at least 10 songs, because some people only put out an album once a year. If I can't get at least 10 songs from you for an album, come on, man. That's really like, you know what I mean? Like, you that scared of your music? You get what I'm saying? Like, you that scared that you not gonna give me 10 fire songs? And then I be seeing songs, be having 6, 7, 8 songs. If you only got 6, 7, or 8 songs on that album, I better like every single one of them. But we not even gonna do that. We going 10, man. We not doing that. Like, I feel like that's a new rule that everybody should be enforcing in hip hop. You know what I mean? When we come out with these albums, man, we need at least 10 songs on the album. That's another rule I got. Another rule to go with that. Man, I see a lot of these real short and dumb songs. If this is another rule, these are two other rules I have. If you say you come out with a song by yourself, on that song, I need at least 2 minutes of rapping. And if you got a hook, the song should have at least 2 minutes of rapping and at least 30 seconds of the hook. And I ain't talking about the whole song be that. I'm not talking about from start to finish, your song is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. No. I'm saying I need 2 minutes and 30 seconds of rapping and a hook. And if it's just rapping, I need at least 2 minutes of rapping. Come on, man. We shortchanging ourselves with this stuff, man. Like, and if you got a feature, I at least need 3 minutes of of rapping and hooks. Come on, man. You telling me that it's 2 people on one song and the song ain't even 3 minutes? Come on, man. We not doing that. I feel like that's a rule that needs to be enforced in hip hop. We not doing that. You know what I mean? So like I said, if it's 2 people on the song, I need at least 3 to 3.5 minutes of material, whether it be the rapping and the hook or just rapping. We not doing none of this short chain stuff. And all the MCs should know and feel what I'm talking about. So one of my next rules, and this is just my opinion, these are just my rules, you know what I mean? I love hip hop so much, I think of this stuff. Another rule, I hear a lot of times in the battles, you know what I mean? I hear a lot of times in battles, for one, if somebody comes at you with a diss track and you don't engage, in my opinion, that's a loss. That's a defeat right there. But within the battle rules, let's just say, I'm going to give this for an example because this is the perfect example, right? Now, Jay-Z, when he dissed Nas, came with Takeover. You feel me? When Jay-Z dissed Nas, he came with Takeover. And this is another thing that I'm going to, I think Cassidy did this, and this is why he was the victor in that, in his battle with Tory Lanez. What Jay-Z did, he wrote a little verse about him. He should have went on him for a whole song because you had to know that was Nas. But what Cassidy did, when he decided to come at Tory Lanez, he put a whole big freestyle out, and he really went on him to make sure he won. But this is the rules that I feel that I'm going to place, within a beef or battle type track situation. Now, the example is Jay-Z and Nas. Okay, Jay-Z put out Takeover. He dissed Nas. Then Nas put out Ether. So, in a sense, Jay-Z, he had to come back because Ether was better than Takeover. Then he put out another freestyle, and he put out the Super Ugly freestyle. Now, Nas didn't officially strike back at that. But in my opinion, and for my rules, he didn't have to. Because if you didn't come back with anything better than I came at you with, then I won. You know what I mean? It would have been just the same as if Jay-Z put out Takeover and Nas clearly put out something that wasn't as good as his. Even if it's questionable, you got to come back. But if you put something out and you clearly, or the opponent clearly got defeated, I feel as though you don't have to put nothing else back out. If you want to, you could risk it and do that. But I feel as though, And like Nas said, I remember him talking about on the radio. He was like, it don't matter. Like, I already won. You know what I mean? He knew that he had won, and he knew that he did not have to put anything else out because Ether trumped everything. But I will say that if Jay-Z, because at the same token, you can't say, oh, Jay-Z put out Takeover, I put out Ether, and let's just say one of Jay-Z's freestyles would have been as good or better than Ether. You can't deny the challenge then, but that wasn't the case. So Nas didn't have to. So by my rules, Nas didn't have to return any type of favor. But if he would have came with something that was as good or better, Nas would have had to reply. And if in that case, if you don't reply, you lost. So those are just a little rules that I have because people, every time, I just love hip hop and I love talking about the music. Every time we get in these discussions, it's like people don't, I think this stuff is common sense, but people don't realize what's actually being done or what actually happened. So, just for, me and what I feel, I put it out there. That's one of my rules. Okay, this is another rule. It'd be a lot of talks. I just was talking about this with my dad today. It'd be a lot of talks about, who's better than who's better than who, or whatever, like that. In my opinion, just because you make better music has nothing to do with you actually being a better rapper than me. You know what I mean? That's for one. And for two, like we just talked about a beef, I don't care what you've done. If you are the best-selling artist, you have got 5 mics for every album, but we entered a rap beef and I clearly beat you, I don't care about any of that. That person is not better than that person, and that's just facts. You know what I mean? And common sense to me. I was trying to give my dad an example. He wasn't getting it because our big thing was we were talking about Jay-Z and Joe Buttons. So whoever knows about this beef, Jay-Z and Joe Buttons had a rap beef. Jay-Z, from my understanding, from the interviews and the things I heard, Joe Buttons asked Jay-Z to be on the Pump It Up remix. So my understanding, Jay-Z said, I don't really feel that beat like that, so, maybe another time or something like that. So then 2-3 weeks later, he comes out with a freestyle that says, give me that beat, fool, it's a full-time Jack move on the Pump It Up beat. Joe Buttons gets offended. He puts a freestyle on top of his freestyle to his same beat, and disses him. You feel me? Now, we all know Jay-Z's accolades, and in my opinion, he has the best catalog in hip-hop, in my opinion. We all know his accolades and all that. But when he dissed him with that freestyle, Joe Buttons then later dissed him again because, I guess it was a hard time for Joe. He just fell in. Some people just fall into bad luck. You diss Jay-Z, and about 2 to 3 months later, he becomes the president of the label that you're on, and he blackballs you. Whatever. I mean, I guess that wasn't a good move. But forget all that. We're talking about the actual battle. He did something to offend Joe Buttons. Joe Buttons dissed him. Then later, I'm just talking about official disses. Then later, Joe Buttons dissed him with a song called Talk to Him. So he dissed Jay-Z about 03 with that Pump It Up freestyle. He dissed him about 03, 04. Dissed him again in 07 with Talk to Me. Jay-Z waited until 09 Blueprint 3 to return a diss to Joe Buttons that was nowhere near as good as what Joe Buttons said. I know how you guys feel about Jay-Z. I feel about the same, but the fact remains, it doesn't matter what he's done. He engaged in a battle. He took 6 years, 5 to 6 years to answer back, and the response failed. He clearly lost. In my opinion, You cannot say that Jay-Z is better than Joe Budden in that situation. If you don't, let's just say you don't feel the same way as me. But if that were the scenario of what I just said, how could you say that Jay-Z is better than a person he took an L to? This is just another example of what I would like to say is, let's take it to sports. I mean, I have questions about it, but I would say it's mostly worldwide, commonly, an opinion that Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever. Some people think it, some people don't, but I would say the majority of opinions that you will probably get is that he is. So, with that being said, let's just say I'm creating a scenario. I didn't say this happened. So let's say that throughout the course of his career, if you know who Tim Hardaway is, Tim Hardaway was a good player. I don't even know if he's a Hall of Fame player. I think he should be, but he was a very good player. But I have never in my life heard anybody who thought that he was the best basketball player ever. You know what I mean? Never. So let's just say that through the course of their career, they were good friends and they played one-on-one 10 times. And the reason why I'm using this example is because for a clear win or a clear victory. So let's just say over the course of their career, they played one-on-one 10 times. And out of those 10 times, Tim Hardaway won 7 of those, and Michael Jordan won 3. I don't care about what the league feels about you. I don't care about you scoring the 31.9 points a game. I don't care about them 6 rings. Yeah, you can be the GOAT long as you know and long as it's regarded that you are not better than Tim Hardaway if that was a scenario. You get what I'm saying? And I just hate when people do that. And I don't care if it's just one back and forth. And that's where it comes to being MC, and that's where the pressure is on. You know what I mean? If you want to not engage, I feel it's still a loss, but at least you left room for error. You said, okay, I'm not even going to chance it. If I don't respond, they can't say what I would have said, or they can't say who would have won. In my opinion, you lost, but if you chose not to engage for whatever reason, at least you left that open. If you chose to engage and you clearly lost, I don't care what you've done in this game. I don't care how many albums you've dropped. I don't care how much money you have. There's no way that you can say, or that I feel anybody can say, you are better than this man. So that is another rule that I have. Okay. Another rule. Oh my gosh, this is my pet peeve. Another rule that I have. People are always discussing old and new rappers. You know what I mean? And they like to say, oh, well, he was the best of his time, or he's better than him because of whatever reason, the impact he had. No, I don't care how much of a legend he was. I don't care what he did in his time. If you're going to say, like, for instance, I'll give this example in my opinion. Now, Biggie. Biggie is very big, very highly regarded. It's always 2 rappers. I would say 3. I would say 4. Like, arguably 4 rappers who will always, not saying my opinion, but who are, known more commonly as an opinion that they are the best rappers. And that is Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. You know what I mean? Biggie was the one to go diamond out of everybody. And I do believe that his category would have been the best instead of Jay-Z's just off the first albums he put out. But when we are talking about who's better than somebody, again, we're talking about lyrically. We're talking about if you were to go face-to-face, rhyme for rhyme with this dude, who will win. We're talking about if it was a rap beef, you know what I mean, who will win that rap beef, or who did win that rap beef. We're talking about every time you guys get on the tracks together, who's winning. So when we're talking about that type stuff, I hate the young and old stuff. Oh, well, you can't put this in this era. No. Well, if you're saying this guy is the best, then we have to put him against every rapper because every rapper is competing for the best. And if you are saying this guy is the best, then you have to like Jay-Z, Biggie has to be compared to a Meek Mills. You know what I mean? If you're asking who's better, you know what I mean? And I just hate when people don't do that. And just because they did whatever they did in their era, that does not matter to me. We take the lyrical components of his and the lyrical components of his, and we see who is better. And whoever is better off of those judgments or those accolades is the better rapper. And I use Biggie as an example because he did have 2 good albums. Well, he had 3 albums, but one he wasn't really able to actually put together himself. In my opinion, Biggie is all that and all that. You know what I mean? To people. And yes, he did have 2 great albums. And yes, he was. I don't even think he was the best in his era. I don't think he was lyrically better than Big L. But I don't think that Biggie's a top 25 rapper as far as lyrics. Now, he does have good songs and good albums, but me and my friends, like I told you, me and LJ and Perry, we were on the phone, and we easily, when we went through each region, we easily found 25 rappers that were lyrically better than Biggie. And lyrically better means a better rapper because everything else that you're talking about has nothing to do with that. Now, if you want to say he makes better songs, well, songs involve a beat, songs involve production, songs involve the backing of a label. You know what I mean? And songs don't necessarily have to do with the lyrical component. You can make good songs without being lyrical. So when we're talking about who a better rapper is, forget the young and the old stuff. We have to be talking about whatever he did lyrically in his time or whenever he did it in his prime against what he did lyrically. And I don't care if he's old school or new school, if it doesn't match up with what he did, he is not lyrically better than him. Now, if you want to say who has better songs, well, that's another topic. So that is a rule that I have when debating about music. Another thing is, I could tell a lot of you guys don't get it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad. A lot of people really don't get it. Like when you talk about music to people, just off the element that I was talking about, they really don't understand. And if you really don't get it, then it's nothing to conversate about. And I'm talking about rappers. If you really don't get it, like I was talking about Common, you're rapping and you're off beat and this isn't as good as that. The whole point is the competition. Excuse me. The whole point is the competition when talking about who is better than who at rapping. It's all about the lyrical component. And I could tell a lot of you dudes don't get it. I could just tell a lot of you dudes don't get it with the stuff that you listen to or with the music you make. And you know what I mean? I just don't understand. Another element that shout out to Mav Hoffa. He was talking about this. He was also him, Paul Kane, and Ransom was actually talking about the rhyme and write a little bit. They didn't go into detail as much, but I could tell that they at least get that. Now, I had a conversation with my dad man. And he was trying to tell me because we were talking about rapping again or whatever on another day. It was another day. And he brung up an artist. I think he said, I think he was talking about Drake. He said Drake is this and Drake is that. And I like Drake's music, but we all know he's had a ghostwriter before. And the point is, when you have a ghostwriter, you don't count. You don't count, my nigga. Like, how could you try to compete with someone else's rhymes against their rhymes? I really don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like, once you have let somebody ghostwrite for you and the rumor comes out that you are done. You know what I mean? Like, not saying you are done like nobody listens to your music, but you cannot be compared to other MCs. Like, Lil Wayne, we all know he's a good lyricist or whatever. Well, we know that he spews out good lyrics at times. He's not better than Lil Pump. He's not. Lil Pump, that bullshit that he had, he actually wrote it though. It's not even that he's not better than Lil Pump. I can't compare it. I don't know what's actually yours. I can't compare it. And let me get back, because I remember I thought a lot of y'all don't get it. I just had a big argument with my homeboy today, right? He told me, and this is the sad part about people, right? It's about the shit about you don't get, like, a lot of you guys really don't get it when arguing about music. He said that I'm not musically inclined. I'm talking about average thought, everybody. So he said I'm not musically inclined. He knows all this about music and all that. And he brung a friend into our conversation tonight. He said that this guy is more musically inclined than him and knows so much. And it's all because him knowing about the mechanics and the behind the scenes, because they both make beats. But he said that this dude is more musically inclined than me. And I asked him to give me his top 5 best lyrical rappers ever. He not only gave me some weird top 5, but no disrespect to Run or Rum DMC or whatever, or Rev Run. He had Rev Run in his top 5, and he went on to say, because I brung this dude up because he's in my top 5. You check out my top 5 series. Lupe Fiasco is in my top 5 of all time lyrically. Not saying he's my favorite, but I don't think that it's 5 people better than this dude. Now, just listen to this, everybody. And I'm not talking from a fan I mean, I am a fan, but I don't like to talk with emotion. And this is what I like to mean by a lot of you guys don't get it. This guy who average thought felt that is more musically inclined than me, he said that Rev Run is lyrically better than Lupe Fiasco. Like, are you serious? No, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Are you serious? Like, you gonna really put your feet on my cereal? Are you serious? Like, are you really serious? Like, so for you, and it's like, he was talking about, oh, well, he knows this about music. He asked me a lot of musical phrases. Well, do you know what that means? No, I don't know what that means. But if you guys know all this stuff about music and you don't know that lyrically Rev Run is not lyrically better or even close to Lupe Fiasco, then all that stuff you learn means nothing. It doesn't, you must not know much. You know what I mean? Like, you must not know much. I mean, I understand that you may like this dude. This has to be off of emotion, but I understand you like this dude. But you said that, and he was like, well, to me, he did. So to you, I'm just trying to break this down. You're telling me to you, you believe that um Lupe, that Rev Run lyrically is better than Lupe Fiasco? Another conversation I had, like, I love this group. I was talking to Average about this. He said that, you know, one of his favorite groups, one of my favorite groups also is Little Brother. Fonte is my man. I think he's dope. I think he's very smooth. You know what I mean? I think that he really gets it in hip hop. Like the way he presents his rhymes and himself, you could tell he really gets it. Now, we were comparing them. You know what I mean? We don't really compare these people because it's a contradiction on what I said before. But I tell him how, you know, even though he hasn't really dropped the album and he hasn't really put stuff out there, Corey Guns is like a lyrical monster. He has a freestyle on Funk Flex to which I feel, I mean, maybe I don't maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but from what I could remember off of any type of radio station freestyle, from what I could remember, like it was when I don't know, it was about 4 years ago. He had the blue on blue outfit, the Criminal Minded hat. What he did with that, and he does that a lot. I said, I like Fonte. I think he's dope. But the lyrical capacity that he brung on that freestyle, Fonte has never brought that. He doesn't really have that in him. And he disagreed. Listen, he had me, and go check it out because this is a dope mixtape. He had me listen to the whole Chitlin Circle because he said on that mixtape you will see that. And no, I see what I heard and seen by that was, yeah, he had a lot of dope songs. He had a lot of dope verses, but the capacity that Corey Guns was rhyming with on that freestyle, I told him, I said, I've listened to a few, Little Brother. I've listened to the Minstrel Show, which was a very dope album, by the way. I just heard this whole Chitlin Circuit. Don't get it twisted. Fonte is a dope MC, and he's an MC. But the lyrical capacity that Corey Green brings, and especially on that freestyle, I try to let him know Fonte don't got that in him. And what I be trying to say to people, like, he told me I am not musically inclined. So you know all this stuff about music and not that? People don't get it. And you know what I mean? I wouldn't say that's a rule, but you know what I mean? This is how put it like this. And that's what I tried to I think he got mad. I said, that's why my opinion counts more than yours. You know what I mean? Shouts out to him. And listen, viewers, he has challenged me. Listen, I wouldn't call it a versus battle. What we do around here is we have a lot of debates. And he wants to lyrically put Most Def's verses against Lupe Fiasco's. Now, we know Most Def is a great MC. I'm just telling you guys because this will be coming soon. Check it out. He's going to pick his best verses. I'm going to pick his best verses. We're going to debate, and we're going to bring an element, to this battle that is like no other. Wait until it airs. But Most Def is dope. He's very dope. But I don't know if you guys know who Lupe Fiasco is, but forget all that. I just wanted to let you know about that battle. The fact that you think, because we're going to go with the extreme situation. Anybody who's listening to that freestyle I'm talking about knows that, the lyrical capacity in that, not many people hold that. But I'm just trying to break this down to you about people who really don't get it. I'm not musically inclined. Your friend who we are on the phone with was. We talked about lyrical rappers, who is a better lyrical rapper, and he said Rev Run is better lyrically than Lupe Fiasco. To me, it sounds like y'all not musically inclined, but you know, it is what it is. I'm just putting that out there to, you know, to the real hip hop fans who judge without emotion, what that sounds like. So that I just want to bring that up. So I would say the last element, and I hate it. Blueface has made it his theme, but rhyming off beat or wrong on the beat is not dope. I hate when people be like, oh, well, you heard what he said. It doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't matter if it was the best punchline in the world. If he did not fit that in to rhyme it on beat, it don't count. And I don't know why people really don't understand that. Like, I don't like non-smooth verses or non-smooth freestyles. You know what I mean? I don't like it. If you can say anything dope. I could say something to you right now. What if I just thought of a punchline to you, talking to you right now? You know what I mean? It'll be a dope punchline, but if you gave me a beat and I was totally off beat with it, how is it dope? It also shows, yeah, you thought of a dope thought, but if you couldn't think of it good enough to mesh in with beat, like your flow is like very much part of being dope. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people's flows let you know if they're an MC or not. Like Redman, he just has an MC flow. You get what I'm saying? He just has an MC flow. Like, it's just a certain flow about him that you know he's an MC just how he flows. You know what I mean? And if you cannot do that on the beat, it's not dope. You know what I mean? Don't try to regard it as dope. Don't try to, and a lot of times who's done it recently is Jay-Z. Like, the line I'll give you is, and I hate this. I used to argue with my man Lex all the time about this. On that, I think it's Pound Cake. He said, what'd he say? How did the verse go on Pound Cake? He said something like all black Maybach, but I'm not a racist. Inside's wider than Katy Perry's faces. Yellow diamonds in my Jesus. That didn't rhyme. That was trash. You know what I mean? That was trash. No, we not accepting that. At least make it sound like it rhymed with it. If you couldn't do that, you should have thought of something else. I hate when people make excuses like that, especially for people who have a name. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. I don't like that offbeat shit or not rhyming at all. I don't like it, and it is not dope. And if you do it, in my opinion, as a rule, you will be regarded as less. And if you do it in a verse compared to this verse, and you do that a few times and he doesn't do that at all, you might, in my opinion, automatically lose. Because another example, Fonte, my man Av, he showed me a verse to where he, like, you know, Fonte did not rhyme at all, but I guess he kind of sounded like he rhymed. He was like, wasn't that dope? No, it's not dope at all. The point of rapping is to rhyme. You think it's dope that he did a whole verse that didn't rhyme? Again, shows you don't get it. You know what I mean? A whole verse that he didn't rhyme. If you don't rhyme, or if you rhyme off beat, it is not accepted. That concludes the show. You know what I mean? That's just a little, you know, some little jewels and some little rules that I wanted to drop on you guys from my perspective of hip hop. Let me know what you think, man. Hit that comment section. You know, like the video, and Please subscribe to my channel. I need 1,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that comment section, man. And I'm telling you, man, if you liked this, it's way more topics and way more of this to come. It's your boy Juice Bundles, the sound of hip hop, and we out.